We're joined now by HuskerOnline Sean Callahan. Sean, good morning. Nebraska is attempting to get transfer offensive lineman Rocco Spindler from Notre Dame. What is the status of that, and who are they fighting for his services, Sean?
Well, right now, I mean, he's visited Indiana with a visit to Michigan looming if the one in Lincoln doesn't go well. And, you know, the timelines are interesting because I believe he's kind of already missed the opportunity to enroll at both Michigan and Indiana. Mm-hmm. He could still get into classes and join up in Nebraska. And, you know, I think he obviously understood that when he went on the portal. You know, and I think he's possibly considering wanting to do one more semester of school at Notre Dame. So there's some other factors there, but financially, I think Nebraska is in a good position competitively to make the best offer to get him, and we'll see kind of where it goes from there.
Sean, we're talking about Rocco Spindler, who was a 23-game starter at Notre Dame at right guard. Okay, why is this important for Nebraska? Where do you see him? What he probably fits in at right guard, but then how would you shuffle the line if he comes here?
Yeah, you know, you think about what you lose. You lost Ben Hart, you know, basically a 5-year tackle starter, and you lost Ben Scott, a multi-year center starter. So you have two veteran interior guys that have gone on, and even Micah Mazuka to an extent.
Yeah.
So you've replaced Ben Hart with Pritchett, and you allow more tackles to develop in the program still, with Pritchett now coming in. Mm-hmm. And then you obviously would replace the loss of the interior on Scott with Spindler. But I think Justin Evans would move to center.
Okay.
And then, you know, Latosky and Spindler, you'd figure out the right left guard, because both of them have played right. Spindler played about 13 plays of left at Notre Dame. But I would imagine both of these guys have the ability to play left or right, and you would figure it out. And then obviously the tackle situation, Gunner and Latosky are both expected to be out for the spring. So you have Prohaska and Corcoran both out coming off injuries. So that will be somewhat of a puzzle to figure out what that will look like. Today, you'd have to say Gatula is probably the obvious leader to be the right tackle. I think Pritchett's coming in, though, to be the left.
Sean, this just hit me while you were talking. We're talking about Rocco Spindler, this potential transfer portal guard. Sean, can I sell to you that this is the most important transfer portal piece of them all?
No, because Pritchett was more important. I mean, if they didn't have this tackle coming in, there'd be a huge question with the tackle position. And I would even say the receivers in what they need to run Dana's offense with Dylan Raiola. I mean, they're all important. I think you can make a case for a lot of them, Sid, but you're right. This is right up there. There's no question. I mean, I still think they could get by if they didn't have him, because Corcoran, in my opinion, could move inside. He has the ability to, and he's played a lot of football. It just depends on how he comes off that injury.
Sean, it's not about getting by now. I mean, you got to start hammering.
Corcoran's a veteran. He's played a lot of football.
That's true. Go ahead, Jim.
Come on, Sean Callahan. Sean, every week we ask you any update on special teams coordinator. We have no news yet. Are you expecting any sort of news to come at some point with that position at Nebraska?
Well, they're still talking to guys. I mean, it's not done. I mean, I can tell you that. I mean, and I don't even know by Saturday when we hear from Matt Rule next at 10 a.m. We're going to know anything at that point officially. So again, we've hit on this, that it's a priority, but it's not a huge priority right now. The priority is finishing this week on the road and recruiting. I mean, this will be the last days Matt Rule can be on the road to recruit until the football season next year, when he can get out for a few days, and that's it. So for Matt Rule, his focus is locking up this up. I mean, and the special teams coordinator is not one of the recruiters. It's not one of the designated 10 recruiters on staff. So that there will be a day to iron all this out. But I think right now, with what the focus is, that's not the immediate thing that needs to get done, because you're not practicing, you're not doing special teams work, you're not recruiting in this position right now. So I would imagine, though, when Rule gets anchored back into Lincoln this weekend, things will pick up pretty quick on that front.
Speaking of Rule coming back and being an anchor, this is a big recruiting weekend, Sean. How many kids are coming in for junior day? Is there a position of focus? What's that all look like? Big junior day this weekend.
Yeah, 22 prospects, a lot with offers from Nebraska. So it's, all of them, have offers. And that's kind of the focus now when you bring these guys in. I mean, there's a Florida commitment coming in named Devin Jackson. He's a 4-star prospect, 4-star prospect. I mean, there's so many names coming in, a few local names coming in. Jordan Campbell, the number 4 ranked linebacker in the country who's committed to Miami, is coming in. And you've seen Nebraska staff out on the road in particularly these places. But locally, Kason Thomas, who's from Sioux City, Heelan, and Jace Reynolds will be two of the local players here for Nebraska this weekend, as well as Matt Erickson, the son of former offensive lineman Mike Erickson. Dayton Raiola is going to be back in town. This is the biggest weekend Nebraska will have, probably until whatever they decide to do with the spring and kind of how they handle that big weekend where they bring recruits in for the spring.
Sean, speaking of the spring, I'm getting a lot of questions from people. When is the spring game? When does spring ball start? Is this what we're going to find out from Matt Rule on Saturday? What's your feel on that?
Yeah, we should get a better idea. I was talking to somebody at another program yesterday, and they're not doing a spring game. And he said that they're just doing a 15th practice, and a lot of it is they look at their numbers and what they had available. And there's going to be particular position groups, especially as we get into a true 105, where you're just not going to have enough, where you're going to want to beat your guys into a 65, 70 snap spring game, where you have guys playing that many snaps because of what your numbers are. And so I think you're going to see more of this moving forward. That model is no longer really the model people will follow. You might even see some schools do their springs as early as possible. Like when the coaches get off the road, they begin spring practices immediately in February. And, in case there's injuries and things like that, you have more time, maybe an extra 2 months of recovery time that you might have where if you did your spring ball in April, May, later in the calendar. So we'll see what Matt Rule, his statement is on that, because you're right. They have not said anything yet publicly about a spring game and what that plan is going to be moving into this year.
Sean, does the fact that the players now are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, a lot of them, and some over $1 million, does that affect the way coaches approach spring a little bit? Where if you're paying your left tackle $1.4 million, do you start mitigating risk a little bit because of all that money that's committed?
I mean, I think you have to, because look, if Elijah Pritchett tore his ACL in a spring game or spring drills, you're still paying him. There's no injury cover. So it does. I really do think it changes the outlook of this a lot when we move into revenue share money. You can say, yeah, but we made $1 million on the spring game. Well, we're paying our left tackle actually more than that.
See, that's not, Sean. It's a big. I'm actually glad you said it the way you did, too. It's not. I mean, I guess it's about injury risk, but I don't know. It's a fascinating conversation.
They'll do something though. They're not just not going to do something, but I think you're going to have to modify what it was. And look, guys, I mean, think about Frost. He did kind of what, something. He did remember he did a tag off spring game where they didn't even tackle?
Yes, I do remember that.
Like we could see something like that too, but like that's probably where it's heading, or just a practice. And Kirk Ferentz has never done a spring game. That they have always just done the 15th. They just call it the 15th practice.
Okay. Yeah.
Sean, always good stuff. Thank you for the time, and we will chat with you again next week.
Thanks, guys.
Good job,
Sean Callahan.